So here's a little demo on how to set up PrusaSlicer to support color printing on the M3D Quad Crane, at least in some initial easy fashion for basic color stuff by object. So we'll start PrusaSlicer here, and it comes up, and basically you can see it's pretty basic. It's been initialized. I set up a Quad Crane as a initial printer to use, but it's only set up with a single extruder and basic filament for in this case is for basic filament settings. Nothing really on the platter, nothing really defined accurately here, but that's because I've got it all on a profile. So now what I'm going to do is import my config bundle, PrusaSlicer config bundle multi-tool color.ini, just a simple name. Presets were inputted. Now you've got some extra things. One is you can notice the waste tower. You also see that you've got filaments here of all different colors, or a bunch of different colors, 8 different colors, and each one of these represents an extruder. So we go back to print settings here, printer settings, and you can see we've set up this printer here. We got a physical printer that's a Quad Crane with CMYK colors. There are 8 extruders defined right here. It's a retractions/firmware for the G-code flavor. I've told it to use relative e-distances, a firmware retraction, because I like using firmware retraction. This profile's been set up for that, and supports variable layer heights. So now the way this works is you create all these extruders here are created, and it's set up as a different color. This is primarily so you can select a different color when you assign it to an object on the screen, like this. And I've got 8 of them set up initially on here. You can add things, but it's a bit of a pain, a lot more work to add the colors, add the extra colors, but I can show you how to do that too. Single extruder setup. Nothing really set up there. We look back here to our back on our general here, you can see it's single extruder multi-material setup. Now where all the magic happens here is in the custom G-code. So go on the custom G-code. The first thing is you can see is in this start G-code here, these M563 commands create all of the extruders, the tools. Each one of these is going to represent one of the colors that you want to set. It also sets up firmware retraction on all of these to be about 1/4 what your normal retraction length would be. This is because when you're using firmware extrusion or firmware retraction, you want the total amount of retraction to equal what you would normally do with a single filament. And this saves filament, and it also prevents clogs. The last bit here is it sets up tool temperatures for the first layer for every one of the tools. Each one of these is going to be a different color. Now, and the second thing we see is at the end of the G-code, I'm removing all these tools so I can restore it back to what it was when we started. And that's what this part of the code does here. Now for the magic, the color. In the before layer change G-code, this is where we set the color for each of the defined tools. And this 4-number array here define the mixes for each one of the colors. So this is extruder 1, 2, 3, and 4. I want and I sort of put an extra label on here so you can see what the color is. This first one is pure cyan, so extruder 1 is 1.0, all the rest are 0. Magenta, yellow, white, and black is a mixture. When you do mixtures, you have to make sure that the total equals 1. So I'm using mostly cyan and magenta for my mix, 40% cyan, 40% magenta, 20% yellow, and no white. Red is also a mixture. green is also a mixture, and blue is also a mixture. You can set these things up relatively easily by the easiest way is to open voxelizer and create a color, and you can see the CMYK and the RGB mappings, and take those CMYK mappings and just copy them as a percentage into the color here as whatever you want it. The other thing you want to do is when you change one of the colors, if you want your screen to look right, you can go and change the color of the appropriate extruders. So if I modified this green one here, I can go and I can make a change to what that color looks like here. Let's see, filament settings. Mostly it's just sort of picking the filament, setting the default first layer, print, cooling features, all standard stuff. The only thing you notice is that there's only one filament defined here. We don't really want to create any extra ones if we can avoid it. Well, we can pick different filament types, and each filament type will have a color. And there's no custom G-code in the filaments or anything weird like that. Your purge amount here on advanced, this is the minimum. It's not really what the program seems to use, so it's just really a number. I've got it set pretty low because I'm doing some example stuff or some trial stuff with my new insert. Print settings. Print settings, set them up whatever you like. It really doesn't matter. When you have multiple extruders, you can make sure that you enable your wipe tower, and you can locate it wherever you like, etc., and it will take care of the rest. If you've loaded this profile, the quad multicolor profile automatically enables the wipe tower. So now we'll go back to the platter and let's see what we can do to use it. What I'm going to do is import an STL file. Let's see. We'll try the clownfish. And we want everything except the supports. And it says multi-part object, so yeah, keep them all as parts because they stick them all together like this. And now we can go through, and on the right hand side you can see here where you can change the colors. So we've got the default color here for this one. It highlights in green on the display. Right click that. I don't want that to be green, I want that to be white. So we'll set that. Yellow and red, yeah, I guess those would be okay. That's not bad. But if I really wanted to, I could make them, I could do red and do green instead of the yellow. So let's try that. Okay, so it would be dark green. Now the purging volume here, you can see this huge purging amount here. I try to avoid using that. Go to adjust your purging amounts. You have to type in values because there's a bug in PrusaSlicer. So I'm going to minimize that. By typing in new values. Make this half of what it would normally be. Now it's not using all the colors, so it'll not actually be that as large as you see here. Actually, why don't we cancel this, and what we'll do is we'll just slice it now and see what happens, because it'll tell us how big the purging tower is really going to be. So it's not that big. We'll leave it that way. So it's going off and it's finishing generating the G-code, and when it's finished you'll be able to see what it looks like. There we go. So all set up, ready to go, ready to print. Now we just export this and send it off to the printer, and you can see what it does. And that's about it. Oh, if you want to, in the more advanced stage, if you want to add additional extruders and different additional colors, you go back to General here. Let's say you can add an extra extruder here, make it 9. You'll wind up with 1 extra extruder. And in the model. I don't know where it put it. Did it do it at number 7? Nope. So 9 here is now set to the default color, and we can change that one. And then we go to custom G-code. You'll have to add a new entry in here. Copy this and make it P8. Add firmware retractions. Copy this last line. Make it P8. And this one here, copy this line here and paste it and make it P8. All the rest of the stuff is the same. Want to remove the extra 2 when we're done, so this one's in reverse. So copy this first one here, paste it above and make it P8. Down in this one here, we add a new color, so we copy this last line and make it P8, set it to be whatever we like. And then the after layer change G-code, we want to make sure temperatures all get updated, so copy this last line here, paste it below it, and make it P8. And that's about it. So that's how you set your PrusaSlicer up for color on M3D. Hope you have fun. Enjoy yourself.